Hi, and welcome to the next installment of If It's in the Mind, It Can Be Managed. I'm your host, Cuddy Cudworth, and today I think this is a pretty special podcast. I have the man, the myth, the legend.
Oh, nobody's stealing my words.
That is my business partner, the man with a plan. Actually, I don't know who's got the plan these days, Mo. I don't know if it's me or you, to be honest with you. I'll be honest, I get a lot of ideas and I'm like, should we do this? Yeah, let's do that. So, look, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to introduce Graham Nicholls. Graham, say hi.
I can't believe you stole my words. I always used to introduce you as the man, the myth, the legend. That's not fair. I guess now you're just the man, the myth, the legend. I don't know if that's...
I'll be the legend. I will be the legend all the day, not a problem at all. Look, I'm really excited about this podcast because we're going to be... The title of the podcast is We Are Not Life Coaches, We Are Life Changers.
I like that.
I think that's a pretty powerful title. And we're basically going to be talking mind management and why mind management is such a powerful tool for mental health, mindset, and everything. Why people
life in general.
Yeah, why people should try mind management as a coaching, not only as a coaching profession, because it's completely different to life coaching, it's completely different to CBT, different to NLP. We've amalgamated some powerful coaching tools that gets these effects and outcomes for people, which is some of the things I've been able to do with my coach with my clients has been fantastic, Graham. And you're going to share some of your wins today as well about how mind management not only came about, but how we've started creating this fabulous business that helps people, in all fairness. So, Graham, talk to me about your experience, because we joke and we say that between us, we've got 30 years of coaching experience. You've got 28 and I've got 2.
I think you kind of do yourself a disservice there, because when you were a cruise director, obviously you had staff underneath you, and a couple of hundred at a time from what we've talked about.
I'm glad you mentioned that, in all fairness, because a lot of people say, Cuddy, how is it you can work with executives to kids? And I'm like, well, to believe it or not, I worked 13 years at Royal Caribbean. And 13 years at Royal Caribbean, I actually had the chance to work with some phenomenal leaders. I had an amazing experience. Yes, it's where I had my nervous breakdown, but that actually wasn't a Royal Caribbean thing. That was a me thing. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. If I'd not had that nervous breakdown, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. You have to have these realizations. And what if your worst day is your best day? I'm always a big believer in that. But I remember actually coaching some captains. There was a couple of captains, I'm not going to mention the names, came, Cuddy, can I ask you a question? Like, yeah, no problem. Oh, you just seem to be a bit more savvy on these. Perfect. So the fact that say that the captains would come to say to me, oh, can I ask you some questions? Cuddy? Absolutely not a problem. I had some hotel directors say, Cuddy, I need some help with confidence. I need some help with understanding conversations that I have to have and things like that. And I helped coach hotel directors who were above me. And I always loved that. I'm still really good friends with a lot of those hotel directors and cruise directors to this day. And they do contact me and say, you know, it was the best thing you ever did was go and create this massive company that we've created because of that. So that's why, yes, I do say 13 years at Royal Caribbean as a cruise director was the last 6. Yeah, I've got 6 years of coaching, and Royal Caribbean actually give you some of the best coaching trainings in the world. And I've got the certificates, and I don't, believe it or not, talk about them, Graham. But I've got some of the highest levels of qualifications because Royal Caribbean paid for the best coaching for us. So one of my coachings came from Harvard University, the Harvard Business School. And I got a 2-year diploma in coaching, which is one of the highest levels that you can get. And I always forget to talk about that, but I'm glad you've mentioned that because no one ever asked me. So yes, there's more than 30 years experience, but I do like a little pun of, yes, 28 for you and 2 for me. But thank you, Graham. But let's talk about, because you are technically you were my mentor. I learned from you. I took all the teachings that I learned from you from all the courses that you did. And then I adjusted them and tweaked them a little bit. So I was like, that doesn't work for me, but this worked for me. And that's kind of how we created mind management. But talk about your experience, Graham.
I think the important thing is that to say is that mind management isn't just about an amalgamation of some powerful modalities. It is that, but we've also created our own tools, our own strategies, our own ways of working that nobody's created before. And those things have been proven to work time and time again. Now, from my own experience, I suffered with my own mental health stuff. It's why I'm so passionate about it. Over 20 years ago, I suffered with mental health. I got diagnosed with depression, stress, and anxiety all at the same time. And I wanted to understand those conditions more so that I could help myself. And that's where after a couple of years, I came across coaching. It was very much life coaching as it was back then. It was very much in its infancy at the time. People were just starting to learn about it. And it helped me to understand me more. And then I went on and I learned about things like NLP and mindfulness and meditation and a whole bunch of other stuff. And what I've always believed is that for the longest period, counselors and therapists and people who help had one point of focus. They just use one tool. So a CBT therapist would just use CBT. A counselor would just use counseling skills. A therapist would just use their particular therapy. And to me, that just seemed a little bit close-minded, because there are so many tools out there that can help. So I started mixing them and I started putting them together to see what would work for me. And it was about me to start with, because I needed to help myself.
Yeah.
And then when I'd helped myself, I realized, well, actually, I wonder if I could help others with this, because it's always something that's been of interest to me, is helping others. And that's why I started coaching. And then it's why I started teaching some of the stuff that I'd learned. And that's what drew you to me. So I'm grateful that I did that, because when you started learning from me, and then when you approached me and said, look, I've got this wacky idea. And yes, you were out on a bike ride at the time and you'd pulled over on the side of the road with cars and trucks whipping past you, and phoned me and said, Graham, I've got this idea and you can tell me to do one if you want, but I've got this idea. And I'm thinking, this bloke's a lunatic.
Label.
Absolutely. But listen, between us, we've created something that if I didn't see it for myself, I probably wouldn't believe it's true.
Yeah.
And that's the truth of it.
Yeah.
If I didn't understand how it works, and if I hadn't seen it work by using it myself and by talking to you about my wins and you talking to me about your wins, I probably wouldn't believe it myself. But the truth is, it does work. And the truth is that we can help, and we do help a lot of people relatively quickly to resolve their issues, to get over their challenges. And that's what mind management is. The term I love the most about mind management is that it's solution focused. It's not about coping strategies, and it's not about, oh, we just got to deal with this depression or anxiety or stress for the rest of your life. Heck, no, you don't. You can resolve them. And hey, I sit here as living proof, as I know you do, sir, that you can resolve these issues, because we've both been through it and we've both resolved our own issues. And if we can do it, that means everybody can do it, because as human beings, what we do is run patterns. Yeah. And if one person can do something, then anybody can do that thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's amazing about what we do, is not only do we help people, but we can teach others to go and help people with these tools.
Yeah. And it's powerful.
It's so powerful.
It is powerful. And we're going to touch on, we'll talk a little bit about trauma today, because I think trauma, it was something we talked about in the beginning, wasn't it? Because I remember when you said, no, I won't work with trauma. And I asked why. Yeah, and because it does this, this, and this. And I'm like, it doesn't, Graham. And you were like, what? I went, nope. I've done my research. Because you gave us so many tools with the Priority Academy. And then I'd seen other things from other coaches, and I'm like, it's got to work. You can work in these situations. Now, I actually never used to say that I work with trauma. It just popped up that with the clients that said, "Oh, Cuddy, I want to work with you," it turned out they had a trauma, and I just went straight into the techniques that we used, and which perspective? I mean, it's just changing someone's perspective of, is that what it was? Is that the decision that we made, or could it be something else? And the only reason I knew that is because you did it to me. And my simple thing was not trauma based in any way whatsoever. It was just something that stuck with me for years, and it was failing a cycling proficiency test. And I know you're laughing because you did. And it was when you did the technique to me, which is not it, because everyone's, "Oh, it must be hypnotherapy." I'm like, no, it was just in a conversation. It was in a conversation. And the second I'd felt that visceral change, that visceral shift, I knew what I was looking for. So for any coaches that are watching this, I wanted to get into to coaching. It's okay to do the video courses and everything, but unless you use the techniques that you learn, whether you do it for charging people or you want to do it for free for people, until you've had it felt for you and that visceral change, you'll probably not understand what it does for others. And that was the thing with a lot of the things that we worked through, how we created mind management from these beautiful techniques. I had it done on me, and even though mine was such a silly thing, it didn't matter. It still plagued me that I failed the cycling proficiency test. I was still the only kid that I failed out of the whole school, and then I kind of had a belief system I was probably going to fail everything. And when I look back, I'm like, actually, I didn't really fail that many things at all.
But it's really interesting because, I'm sure you can tell the story about this. When you were going for your role of cruise director, you were terrified by it, right?
Oh, I
you were going to fail.
couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe. So I'd got judgment of self and judgment of others middled in with beliefs from the past. And I had a panic attack in front of 3 people, and I started crying. I laugh now, but once the guy who was doing the audition left, which is why whenever we're doing people things for auditions, like I'm saying, you've got to do this test and things like that, we'll walk you through it. We just need to see that you can stand up and do these things. But I actually have in the past put my stuff on people. It's going to be fine. Just don't put too much pressure on yourself, because that's what I did for myself. And I just remember, if Alison Fraser, I'll say Alison Fraser, if Alison Fraser ever gets to watch one of these podcasts, she'll go, it was me. And the guy that did the audition was a lovely guy, and he just said, "Oh, it's all right, maybe next time, not a problem, that's fine." They changed the audition process because of it, actually. They went, "We just can't have people having nervous breakdowns." I'm like, I know, but that was a me thing, actually. It wasn't a you problem. And I just remember after he left, I just looked at Alison and went, "What am I going to tell my wife?" And her bottom lip started going. The other person who was there to support me, her bottom lip started going. They were like, "Oh my God, what's happened, Cuddy?" I'm like, I've got no idea. And that's when I started learning about monkey mind. The purgatory I'd put myself under. The fact that actually the labels I was causing myself was not bipolar, was not schizophrenia. It was these conversations that I was having that absolutely sent me on this downward spiral. And that's when I had depression. That's when I had anxious and anxiety. And it was absolutely atrocious. But looking back, I'm like, it was me. I can't blame anyone else for it.
I think the most powerful thing about mind management is we talk often about the tools we use, the strategies we use, and that sort of stuff. But the truth is, we have a conversation. And you said it when I was working with you, and we went through the cycling proficiency thing. It was all part of a conversation, and that's all we do. We don't. It's not, as you said, it's not about hypnotherapy. It's not about life regression and all of that sort of stuff. All great tools. No, I'm not knocking those tools. But what we do is we have a conversation with people. It's different to life coaching, because life coaching is more about ask a question, shut up, and let the person find their own answers. Because there's this belief in life coaching that everybody has the answers that they need. The truth is, maybe they do have the answers, but they can't find them. Otherwise, they'd have found them and used them on themselves, and then everything would be great. And we wouldn't have jobs. We wouldn't be running this business, and I'd be off stacking shelves in a supermarket or something like that because this is what I do. But the truth is that people, even if they do have the answers, don't know where to find them. Our conversations help them to find them, or we offer them ideas on those solutions. We don't tell them what to do, never tell them what to do,
Nope.
but we offer them ideas on those solutions. And it's all part of a conversation. It's just two people sitting, having a chat with one of them knowing what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's what we do. We know what we're doing. We know what we're looking for, what we're listening out for.
Yep.
And we know what to do with that information once it comes our way. So I think that's a really good way to describe it. It's two people having a chat and one of them knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's like if I take my car into a mechanic, he'll know what he's doing, and while I'm having a conversation with him, I haven't got a clue. Me and mechanics, not a clue.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's powerful. And a lot of our clients, in all fairness, because mind management is such a new term, which I think we're extremely proud of the fact it's a new term as well, is it gets results.
It does.
Not all the time, because some people don't want to change. They don't want, once we've brought their unconscious mind to their conscious mind and give them a different option, fear pops up. We set sometimes a little bit of homework and try this, let's try this, and we're going to try this in this next instance. It just so happened that at one point, all my clients had trauma. And I kept coming back to, right, I did this. And you were like, oh my God, it works. You know, you're right. Oh yeah, I never even thought about it that. Because I've done so much research into it, of how trauma actually doesn't affect the brain as much as what everybody says it does.
Yeah.
But there'll always be that decision and that perspective. And I know we talked about certain clients, it's the questions that they ask and they're looking for the answers. And sometimes therapy and counseling don't create that option. They can miss it. As I'm sure that we've missed it sometimes in that moment when clients have popped up. Somebody asked me, what is the success rate of me at the moment? And I'd say I'd probably hit about 80-85% success rate. Believe it or not, I've had some clients that just said, this is not for me. And they gave me the best testimonials I'd ever had. True story. They gave me the best testimonials. I went, no, we get what you were trying to get to, and we know where we were going. I don't think I'm ready to deal with that. But the ones that were ready to deal with it and feel the pain to heal it, because you've got to feel it to heal it. That's not from me. It's from someone else. I don't know who it is right now, but you've got to feel it to heal it. We are so scared about feeling that pain. We push it down, we move it. The second you feel, and that was the premise of the logo. Simple as, get to the root of the problem, pull it out, and the leaves begin to flourish. You begin to flourish. That was the premise of the logo at Priority Mind Management. So let's talk about how mind management works quickly sometimes. And I always say that, funnily enough, I do more or less a five session package with people, or a 6 month package. We meet once a month, we talk, we go through things. Right, let's put this into place. Let's put this into place. And I've, at one point, what I've noticed actually, what I'll mention is, at one point I was working with trauma. And then recently I've been working with kids from the age range of 9 to 19. All being kids. I suppose that's who we attract at that point. And the kids that I've been working with have been absolutely amazing. We've had the conversations, and they said, oh, I've been to counseling, but it just didn't work for me. And again, when we have these conversations, especially about product, we're not sitting here and saying counseling doesn't work, therapy doesn't work. No, not at all. You have to keep going until you get the results. If you come to us and don't get the result that you expected. But I think the reason we're successful, Graham, is how we start out.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. We all start out with the solution in mind, with the end in mind. It's not about coming and sitting for the next 2 years and just going over and over the same issues. That's not what we do. For some people, as you say, that works. For some people, they want to talk about it. The more they talk about it, the better they feel about it, they get over it. But it tends to take a longer period of time. If you look back to kind of the the father of counselling and therapists, if you like, was Carl Rogers, and his book on becoming a person was brilliant. However, he believed in that you had to have, he called them interviews rather than sessions. And he would have people coming back for 150, 200, 220 interviews. And I just remember reading it, and some of the stuff I took out of that book was phenomenal, helped me tremendously. But I also remember sitting and thinking, why would I want to be going back to somebody 150, 170, 200 times and not getting my issues resolved? That's years and years and years of work, which means it's years and years and years of my life that I'm not living. So I knew that I could take the positives from him, but I also know I needed to find a different approach. And that is starting with the end in mind, right?
Yes. What is the outcome that you want? What's the end game? What is it you can't do now that you want to be able to do? And I also think the power of what we do is we don't diagnose. We don't need a diagnosis. We don't need a label.
No.
We don't need, it's the label. We don't need a diagnosis. It's like, just tell me what you can't do that you want to do. And let's bridge that gap. We'll work that process, and that can be done quite quickly. And that's anxiety. It'll always be anxiety for a lot of people. And I'm doing a podcast over the next weekend with Izzy, Scotland's strongest woman, who doesn't have anxiety anymore. And when we talk about that, it does triggers a lot of people. It does. We've talked about the triggering. We're not here to trigger people with anxiety.
No, we're here to tell you the truth.
We're here to tell you the truth. You don't need to live with anxiety. You're going to get anxious, absolutely. I still get nervous. I always say nervous more than next. I get extremely excited. I've used that. I said, no, you're just extremely excited. What do you mean? Well, tell me where your feelings of anxiety are. Well, they start in my stomach and they come all the way up. So when you go on a roller coaster, where's your excitement come from? Well, it starts in the stomach and comes all the way up. I'm like, there it is. You're extremely excited about something. Oh my God, I never looked at it like that. Some those simple things, but then the old programming comes back, and we know that the old ways of thinking come back in because that's the way we've been thinking for such a long time. It becomes norm. So no, and I when you're talking about the Carl Rogers, which was a phenomenal book, so I remember you used to recommend that in your courses, and I'm like, yeah, I didn't read the whole book because it was a mammoth book. Yeah. And I did remember thinking when I bought the book, and I'm like, yeah, I know why he recommends this one, so you won't read it and you'll come back to the courses. It was, but I do recommend it to other people. Oh, could I want to be a coach? Right, get this book. So I'm sure we do a lot with that. And it's funny how we create these. I remember when I did cognitive behavioral therapy. I think that was the first certificate that I got, and I was really proud of that. But I remember going through the training. It said you're going to anywhere between 8 to 20 sessions, and I'm like, 8 to 20 sessions, because I knew what the effects you could get from NLP and meditation. It's always been meditation for me, and I was like, I'm not doing 8 to 20 sessions. What my mindset was, that's a rip off for people. You can't have people coming back to you. That I'm surely that'd be boring for me and you. But that's the way I was thinking. That was because I was new to it, and I was like, okay. So I'll talk about my first client. Extremely nervous. Somebody had recommended him come to me. No charge. I was like, I can't charge him. I'm always very honest. And what do we have to do? I said, tell me where you are, what you want to do, and I said, right, 4 sessions. 4 sessions. I said, let's give it a go on 4 sessions that you want to be able to do that you can't do now. And we used metaphors, we used why can you do this but you can't do that, powerful stuff. Oh, what's the fear? Show me what it is. Let's find out how real that is on a scale of 1 to 100. How real is that going to happen? Let's prove it wrong. And I made a bet with her. I remember the bet. All right, the next time you don't want to pick up the phone, she was adamant she'll never buy a raffle ticket or a lottery ticket because she never wins. So when you've got more chance of winning the lottery than you have of getting bad news on the phone. And because we'd built that rapport, she texted me on the Wednesday. I think we did the sessions on the Saturday. She texted me on the Wednesday. She went, I didn't buy a raffle ticket. I answered the phone. And we did it in 4 sessions. She went, I don't have anxiety anymore. And I didn't realize, but actually I kind of did, because that's when I really started looking at the trauma. And she had a couple of traumas. But traumas, and we're going to really deep dive traumas. Everybody has trauma. It's the meaning we create to it that decides whether it's going to be a big trauma or a bad trauma. And I've mentioned this before, and I think when it comes to every woman who has a child has had a trauma. Giving birth is a traumatic experience.
Yep.
But the meaning you give to it is, I've just created life. This is beautiful. Right?
Absolutely.
So you've created a meaning of something that is absolutely horrendous, and it brings you joy.
Yeah.
And I use that thinking with all the clients that I've worked with. Meaning, understanding, perspective.
Yeah.
And that's what I came back to you with. I remember Graham said, well, but it's not what you think, Graham. It's, as far as I understand, that's not real. It's this. And we went through it together. You were like, do you know what? You're not wrong. I've got a training on this. I've even talked about this. And I was like, right, brilliant. And that's why we've been able to help so many people with trauma and anxieties and PTSD. I always say the word wrong. And
You do.
I do always say that wrong. Right. There's an abbreviation on going on ships which was PDST, which was pre-departure safety training.
That's where it comes
So
out.
on ships, that's why I always say PDST. You have to do your PDST when you signed on a ship. But post-stress traumatic disorder is it
Still
not?
got it wrong, folks. Post-traumatic stress disorder.
PTSD. Right, there we go. Yeah, so being able to work with people with those things using mind management has been a phenomenal thing. It's been a phenomenal thing that we've been able to help. So I really, really love the stuff that we do with mind management and helping people. I
think one of the biggest things, and you were talking about the labels and stuff like that, and even PTSD to a degree. One of the biggest things that upsets people when I talk to them about it is that things like anxiety and depression and stress, they are not the problem. No. They are the symptoms of the problem.
The symptoms.
And people don't seem to get that. All across the media and all across social media and every newspaper you read or every book you pick up, everybody talks about anxiety like that is the issue, or depression like that is the issue, or stress, or even PTSD as that is the issue. They are not the issues. They are the symptoms of the issue. It's like the running nose is a symptom of a cold, but it's not the cold itself. It's not the cold virus itself. It's like going into your garden and seeing the leaves of the weeds. They are not the cause of the weed. The root is the cause. The leaves are just the symptom of it. So if you rip the leaves out, the root will grow again.
Yeah.
So if you just focus on dealing with the anxiety will come back because the root is still there. And that's where we have our greatest successes, I would suggest.
Yes. And the pain is down at the root. It's just like it's like root canal surgery. Yeah. And getting past the fear of root canal surgery, where I now actually adore it and love it. I'm like, oh my God, that's the best thing ever. I completely understand that process. I think one of the best things I heard, again, I wish I could lay claim to it, but it's not, was when the oil light comes on or when the engine light comes on in the car. If you unplug the cable and the light goes off, is the engine still working fine? Because you can't see the light.
So everything must be all right, right?
So everything must be all right.
Until it goes kapow, bang, boom.
It's like, well, the light wasn't on because
you're sat on this side of the motorway.
You unplugged the engine light. Doesn't mean it's saying there's not a problem with the engine anymore. I can't see the problem. And that's mind management plugs the cable back in and says, let's work on the problem. Let's get to the engine. And that's I always like that analogy of you can unplug the cable so you don't think there's a problem with an engine, but the light is still on just because it's not plugged in. And that's what I think that's the powerful thing that mind management does. And because we've got, and it's funny because the title of the podcast is, we're not life coaches, we're life changers. We are trained in life coaching. Yep. So it's one of those things that we're trained. And a lot of people say, oh, is it going to be a clash working with this person? I'm like, no, because I can do everything they can do. but they can't do what we can do because they've not done the mind management training. The mind management training is powerful. So I can do Wheel of Fortune, as I always like to call it.
Yeah, the wheel of life.
I've done Wheel of Life. I've done Wheel of Life. And actually, when I'm going through Wheel of Life with people, because that's kind of what they wanted in that moment, I'm just like, this is pants. It just didn't sit right. It didn't sit right at
But
all.
for some people,
Yeah,
that's effective because it gives them some clarity.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you want to work at that level, yeah, great. You're going to be a life coach. Fair play. That's what you want to do.
Absolutely.
If you want to change people's lives, the people who want their lives changing, that is, the people who are willing to put the work into doing the life, changing their lives, then you've got to step past that. And I think that's the important thing that we are offering people.
Yeah.
It's that we're giving those people who are life coaches but are not satisfied as life coaches the opportunity to step past just being a life coach and being a life changer, as you put it.
Yeah.
Because the stuff we do changes people's lives if they want to have their lives changed. It truly does. We've both got examples of that. I worked with a young lady who'd been trapped in her house for 2 years, couldn't leave her house, massive anxiety, even had to have the door locked. The moment her husband would walk through the door, she'd slam it shut, lock it. She had to have the blinds down. And I remember him, I used to play in a rock band, and he used to come along and wanted her desperately for her to come along, but she would just say, no, you go, I'm staying here. And I remember him knowing that I was a coach. So he came to me at one of these gigs and said, look, I don't know if you're going to be able to help her, but can you just chat to my wife? So I went round, talked to her. Half an hour later, she walked out the door with me. Now, I'm not saying that to go, oh, look at me, aren't I wonderful? I'm not saying that to impress. What I'm saying is that's what we can do. I still to this day, and we're talking that's years ago, I still to this day get messages from her husband saying, we're out of the coffee shop. She hasn't had a problem since she did that. Or we're going on holiday, or we're on holiday. I mean, the amount of photos I've had of him sat next to the pool with her in some sunny hotel in Spain or Greece or whatever, because she can now just live her life. I get loads of photos of stuff like that. And I'm just thinking, yeah, it's all for you. I'm still here working while you're out in the sun. Oh, that's very nice. But the truth is that people had tried to help her before by focusing on the anxiety. When we went past that and we got to the truth, actually, the truth was all about changing the meaning and the perspective of something that had happened outside of the house.
Mm.
And like I say, 30 minutes later, she took my hand and walked outside the house. Yes, she was nervous. Yes, she was shaking a bit, but she would never have taken her husband's hand and walked out the house. And the moment she'd done it once, she knew she could do it again. And off they went. That's the power of what we do.
And is that the biggest win you had?
That's the one I think of the most, because I still get the photos from the husband of them at a coffee shop or out on holiday or on the train to London or whatever, because I still get those messages from time to time. That's the one that always sticks with me. Yes, I've helped people. I've had I don't quite know how to explain whether I call it the unfortunate opportunity that I've had to talk a couple of people out of suicide. That wasn't very nice, but I was able to do it. And I feel blessed that I was able to do it, that I'd learned something in my own journey that gave me the opportunity to talk to those people and to deal with those people. And I remember shaking like a leaf while doing it, but I was able to do it. And I've helped people to get past their own stuff and go on and live great lives themselves, work past their own limiting fears and beliefs and become things they want to become. But without doubt, the 30-minute talking around the house after 2 years, that does stick in my mind. So
that's good. It is. It's such a good thing. And I'll share, because I had a lot of wins with the clients that I had over last year. There was a lot of wins. So there was always I'm not going to mention names. Izzy's always said I can talk about Izzy, so it's not a problem. I'll not talk about the troubles until she talks about it and stuff like that. But what we did in 45 minutes, and she'd booked in for 5 sessions. And then there was the break, there was the emotion that came out, and then she texted me on the Wednesday. She went, "I can't believe it. I've not been on a bus in 12 years." She goes, "I'm in a coffee shop. I can't believe what's happened." And I was like, "We did it in 45 minutes. We did it in 45 minutes." And she says, I can't believe it." To some extent, I was like, "Yeah, I can't either." And this was all online. I didn't even have to be with her.
Yeah, I think the important thing is we must say that the 45 minutes or half an hour, that's not typical.
No,
that doesn't happen for everybody. Please don't get in touch with us and say, "I want you to sort my problems out in 45 minutes." Doesn't happen for everybody.
no.
However, problems going on for 8 to 10 to 12 to 15 to 20 sessions doesn't happen either.
No.
Usually by the time we've got to 6 sessions, either somebody's on the right side of it and knows how to go and live their life.
Yeah.
Or we know it's not for them and they're not ready to change.
Yeah.
And the truth is that the guy who comes to us and is sent to us by his wife because his wife wants him to change probably isn't going to change. Or the lady that comes to us because her husband said she needs to sort herself out and she doesn't really want to sort herself out probably isn't going to change. So those people we know fairly quickly, usually, we're not going to be able to help because they're not ready to change. The people who are ready to change, the people who have said, "That's enough, I've had enough of this.
Yeah.
I don't want this anymore in my life," they're the people we help, and we generally help relatively quickly. When I say relatively quickly, 6 sessions is relatively quickly considering what other modalities take.
Yes. And it's funny because I do a 1-year program with people, but that's for mindset because we're training because we got so many tools. I'm like, that's the reason we've got these powerful things because it's not just one. So I do mindset trainings and coachings for a whole year program for sporting athletes who want to go to the next level. But that's been different. I will say what we've been able to do with a lot of the clients that I've been able to work with, funnily enough, with mind management tools, there was a gentleman who'd not been able to go on holiday with his wife for, I think it was about 15 years. They'd been together. I think it was his girlfriend. And he's like, "I can't get on a plane. I can't get on a plane. Is there anything you can do?" I went, "Right, 4 sessions, I'll get you on a plane. 4 sessions, I'll get you on a plane." And he sent me a text message with a photo and "I can't believe it. I'm in Malta. I'm in Malta."
Yeah.
And I was like, brilliant.
Well,
absolutely fantastic.
I did exactly the same with my wife because when we got married, we booked to go on honeymoon to Greece and she didn't know how she was going to get on the plane. She was terrified. She said, "Well, we can book it, but I don't know how I'm going." And I spent the next few weeks working with her, doing some tools and techniques with her so that when she got on the plane, was it easy for her? No, it wasn't because the fear was deep rooted. But she had some tools and techniques she could use while on that plane to get on the plane and go. Since then, we've been in, 20 times. But we get her on the plane. So I did the same with my wife.
Yeah.
And the thing about mind management is we talk about the short period of time where we can help people, 4 to 6 sessions. But like you say, you've got an annual program, a 12-month program for mental resilience and mental mindset, that sort of stuff. I work with a CEO of a charity that's once a month so that they can check in. The charity deals with some heavy stuff, so they can download some stuff, get it off their chests, and I can work with them in that way. So that's not about 4, 6 sessions, solve it. That's about just come in, check in, make sure we're all right, talk about stuff. I'll help where I can. We can do the whole range of experience. When businesses employ us, they either employ us and their staff come to us and we help them in that short period, or and you have a particular business that you work with that their staff just come and have a check-in every so often. I just need to check in and talk about that. And that's great because they know they're able to come to us. And if they need something, we're probably going to be able to provide it.
Yeah. And one of the businesses I work with, I actually work with the senior management level.
Yeah.
The executive team. Some of the staff, absolutely, but it started out working with the executive team. And because of the success that we'd had with the executive team, they all said our staff need this as well. I'm like, yeah. And that's how we built the program. And they went, "Can you work with the staff as well?" I said, "Yeah." It's absolutely fine. I said, because I don't, and for any coach that's listening to this as well, if you've decided to tune in and listen to this, I always try and impress this on people and really express this as passionate as I can, as for all the certificates we have in coaching and all the things that you want to be, oh, well, I want to get this certificate, this certificate. People don't care about your certificates. They care about the outcome and the experience you've got as a coach. Every client I've worked with has said, what's your background? Because there was working with the executive committee at one of the companies that I was working with. They went, "Well, why am I talking to you, Cuddy? What's your experience?" I told them, "Oh, well, I worked 13 years at Royal Caribbean. I took ships from Texas to Singapore in 3 months. This happened, 135 staff, 10 senior managers. I had to help the captain and I had to help the hotel director while also managing my own stuff and the 135. They went, "Okay, let's talk." Because of that experience. And I'd been coaching, and again, I'd got the coaching experience from Royal Caribbean, which was absolutely fantastic, which was great. So I really, really, really impart that onto coaches is look at your life experience, because people they need that life experience. I know CEOs from other companies as well. I was talking, I know that there's a lot of other CEOs from other companies, and this lovely lady started coaching because she'd been a CEO and the second senior vice president, and ladies were like, "Well, I need your experience." And she'd just been a natural coach. Beautiful lady, she was. And she was just a natural coach. And that's what people really do gravitate towards. The certificates take you so far, your experience takes you to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I mean, I've worked with coaches before.
Yep.
As in they've coached me.
Yep.
And not once have I said to them when I was employing them as a coach, "Well, so tell me what certificates you have.
Yeah.
Tell me what body you're affiliated to, or whatever it is." Not once. For all the businesses we work with, not once. I've had conversations with businesses that have had 5 people, to businesses that have had 550, to businesses that have had over 1,000. Not once has a business said to me, "So what certificates do you have, Graham, that allow you to do this?" They just don't ask, because what they actually want is somebody who can provide an outcome.
Outcomes.
That's what it is. It's an old sales thing. People don't buy the sausage, they buy the sizzle and the smell and the taste.
Oh, dropping the knowledge there.
And it's the same with coaching. People don't buy you, they don't buy me, they don't buy the certificates we have, they don't buy any other coach. They buy what outcome that coach can help them achieve.
Mm-hmm.
When they're having a conversation, they are judging, can this person help me get from here to here? That's it. Because I will pay money if they can do that. And if they can't do that, I'm going somewhere else.
Correct. And I think when we've talked about that, how many clients have you turned away because you couldn't deliver the outcome?
I've turned clients away because I didn't think they and I were the right fit together. But I've never turned clients away because I didn't believe I could deliver the outcome.
Perfect. Good stuff. I like that. There was one client I did turn because I couldn't deliver the outcome. I just knew, I'm like, nah, this is not in my wheelhouse. This was way back in the day, and I was like, this is not in my wheelhouse at all. It might have been a couples thing, to be honest with you. I'm like, nah. No. So I did remember that, but there is that occasional time I'm like, this is not a good fit. This doesn't feel right. But and for any coaches that's listening to this and I want to get started in mind management or impact theory or whatever kind of coaching you want to get, I'm excited about impact theory. I'm not going to lie, Graham. We know what we've created with impact theory for anybody that wants to come and learn that process. It's going to be absolutely fantastic for people. I think because I was quite successful in such a short amount of time. For any coaches listening, Graham, why?
Because you went out there and did it, is the honest truth. Because when you came on my master coach course, we would talk about something in one session, and we'd do the practice in that session, and then within a day or 2 days, I'd get a message from you saying, I've just tried that on a client.
Yeah.
You went out and you did it.
Yeah.
And then when you actually wanted to start the business, you went out and you took the action to start the business. And every time fear showed up, you stuck 2 fingers up at it and said, no, I'm going to go and do it anyway.
I had to.
Yeah. You took on the learnings from the online courses that you took and the CBT course you took, and then the master coach course you took, and you applied them to yourself so that you could go and do the stuff you need to do. You got past your own stories, you got past your own limiting fears and beliefs, and even when they showed up, you just stepped across them and went and did it anyway. The biggest reason that most coaches don't become coaches, i.e. they're not coaching people, because that's a huge thing, isn't it? Lots of people say I'm a life coach, and when you ask them how many people are you coaching, how many clients have you got? No, I don't have any. The biggest reason that they don't have them is because they can't get past their own fear, their own stories, and their own BS to actually go and do it.
Yeah.
And that's why you were successful really quickly, because you were motivated, you were driven, you weren't going to go and do what you were doing before. You're absolutely driven to not do that. So you had the motivation to go and do it. But motivation isn't everything.
No, motivation.
We can all be motivated. It doesn't mean we go and do it.
Motivation comes and goes. I always tell everyone the reason I've been successful is I didn't have another choice. I didn't have another choice. I had a mortgage to pay. And for anyone, we always say this when everyone's getting into coaching and stuff, when you're having to leave that job that you're in, corporate job or in the normal life, you think, I want to be a coach, because we see all the advertisements for coaching, and like, as long as you can pay your mortgage, make sure you can pay your mortgage. So I remember I took a part-time job that covered the mortgage. Then I did 3 days, 4 days of marketing, trying to get clients, getting people booked in, then kept the weekends free because that's where I was working. And it was taking action. And I always talk to this about to one of my closest friends. It's 2 minutes a day. For any coach that's listening to this and thinking, well, how do you get 2 minutes a day? You're better off spending 2 minutes a day moving forward 2 minutes than saying, right, I'll do 24 hours on Monday, then not do anything for another 6 months. It was one post I would do, or that 1 2 minute acknowledgement of sending a message out or something like that is what kept moving forward. And we still do that now, Graham, with what we're building and what we're creating with Priority Mind Management. Is 2 minutes a day we'll have spent something on it.
Yeah.
And we've met coaches that have spent thousands and thousands and thousands on different techniques and coaching and getting certificates and things like that. And it's funny because we always ask the same question. Fantastic. How many clients you got? How many clients have you got? Because that will be the difference.
Life coaching is no different to any other part of the world or part of life, is it? If there's something you really want to do, you might want to play football. You might want to be an astronaut. You might want to be an accountant. It doesn't really matter. If there's something you really want to do, but you're not doing that, it's because you're getting in your own way. And coaching is exactly the same. People have got their certificates and experience and aren't coaching people, is because they're getting in their own way. It's not because they can't find clients. That's the kind of the old adage, well, I can't find clients. Where have you looked? Well, I've looked everywhere. Okay, just give me a list about where have you looked. They've looked in 2 places, or they've tried posting on Facebook 5 times and think that people are going to pour to them. And do you know what? I hold my hand up. When I started coaching 18, 20 years ago, I thought I will get the certificates and people will flood to me. Like I suddenly became this magic magnet that people would flood to me. So I got my certificates and I sat there and I waited for the phone to ring. And I waited for the phone to ring. And I would have still been waiting if I hadn't have got past my own crap.
Yeah.
Because My own crap is what stopped me actually going out and doing something. And by the way, just going out and buying yourself some business cards is not going out and doing something. And I know that because that's exactly what I used to do too. I've got my business cards. What are you doing with them? Who have you handed them out to? Well, I haven't actually seen anybody. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt.
I'll tell you what I did, and I was going to share that. I'll share this in the Priority Academy with a coaching service that we have. I was going to talk to everybody about how I started. So it was business cards, and I'd heard everyone's supposed to have a niche. I'm like, all right, we'll have a niche. Right, let's do social anxiety then. So I had social anxiety as a niche. Didn't get one client, but I'll tell everybody what I did. Yes, I was doing social media. Yes, I have a Facebook group. Yes, I started giving away free stuff. And we'll talk about hypnotic meditation before we finish, because I think it's a really powerful thing that we've created with hypnotic meditation. It's something that I started a long time ago, and I think it takes them deeper, get them to that place, but it is meditation at the same time. It's a powerful thing that I created. So when I first started, 3,000 flyers I got printed up. 3,000 flyers. And over the space of 3 days, I covered as much of Fife as possible and posted through every letterbox a flyer. And out of those 3,000 flyers, Graham, 3 days of walking 25,000 steps a day, how many clients did I get, Graham?
No idea.
Not one.
Not one.
Not one. So I tried it. Didn't work. Still doing social media. Then I started paying social media adverts. Oh, I'll do social media adverts. I'll pay for the social media adverts. That's what everyone says. Do the adverts. Must have dropped about 50, 60 quid on £2 a day over 10 days or whatever it was. Guess how many clients I got from that, Graham?
Not one.
Not one.
But, bless them. There's a coach who's currently paying for adverts that I keep seeing on my Facebook feed. And I kind of want to message them, because not only does their adverts suck, but they're just wasting money. Because the problem is, particularly with coaching, you're not in a little fish pond where there's only 5 or 6 of you. You're in the ocean where there's millions of you. And everybody has got a Cuddy Cudworth coaching, or a Graham Nicholls coaching, or a John Smith, or a Laura Davies, or whatever coaching. Everybody is out there doing it. You're just in this big, massive pond. And if you don't have that, a brand to stand out and work alongside, then you're going to struggle, particularly on social media, because everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
And bless whoever this coach is. I mean, they haven't got a picture of themselves. It isn't their name. It's just 3 letters and then coaching. I haven't got a clue what they do. You click through on the ad, because I have done, and it just says sign up today, and that's it. And I'm just thinking, you are wasting money. Bless them.
So I then, after that, did some newspaper advertising. That was 250 quid.
Yeah.
How many clients did I get from that, Graham?
About the same as I did when I did it. Zero. So I went out and I got this brilliant ad, and I wish I could find it in the local rag. And I've looked through their archives, but obviously it was before the internet, so they probably have. And they had a photographer come out, and I stood outside the newspaper, and the newspaper building was this big, grandiose building, and he got down on his knees and he shot me from underneath, so it looked like I was stood in front of this big building and it belonged to me, and I was this wonderful coach. And I did this whole article, then paid for the page next to it as an advert. Cost me a small fortune at the time. Zero. Absolutely nada did I get out of that.
So that was the process. And this is what I came down to. What creates clients, Graham? And I tell everybody, conversations. That is it. Nothing else. You get a result with someone, word of mouth. You talking. And I was gonna share this in priority mind management as well. Is when I first started out, there was always that, should you sell to your friends? Should you sell to your friends? And I'm like, actually, I never sold to my friends. I asked them to help me out. Because I think I'd done one of your trainings, and I'm like, do you know what? I'm just going to reach out to some of my friends and say, look, I've started a business. I'm up here, but I know you've got friends down in Blackpool. anyone struggling with this, this, and this, will you please send them my way? Yeah, could I absolutely do that? They became my clients.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't even realize. I went, no, we've been struggling for a while. We've been looking for someone. I trusted you, Cuddy. Did it also down south, someone in Norfolk. I said, look, I've just started this business. This is what it is, monkey mind relaxation. Look, if you've got any contacts, if you know anyone that's struggling, just get me in contact. They did. Trust. Conversations. It was conversations. And I always told this to clients, to coaches, because we are blessed that we train other coaches now and help people on that process. Is what gets clients? Conversations.
Yep.
Conversations before content. I would always say that. That's
That's a powerful one. Write that one down right now. Jesus, folks, while he writes that down.
Conversations before
content.
Oh yeah, before content.
Absolutely. I think the powerful thing of talking to your family and friends and saying, I'm starting this business. Will you please help me out by doing this? Because unless they're complete and utter bleeps, they're going to go, yeah, all right. How many coaches, though, or how many people in life don't want to tell their family and friends that they're starting a new business just in case it fails? Fear kicks in, that fear of they'll laugh at me, I'll be embarrassed, they'll think I'm a dick, whatever it is. That fear kicks in, so they don't tell anybody. Guess what? Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. I remember starting out and thinking, who should I tell? Well, if I tell my parents, they'll just say, go and get a real job. If I tell my best mate, he might go, don't be so bloody stupid. Just go away from me and I'll never see him again. If I tell, and I just, the only person I told was my boss in the job that I was doing at the time. And 4 weeks later, I got made redundant. You know, I told the wrong person. Tell the people that actually want to help you. Actually, in a lot of ways, that did help me because that just went, all right, there's your kick up the backside you need. Get on with it.
Yeah. I thought this was a great podcast. I think we've not only have we touched on why mind management works, but we're not life coaches, we're life changers. Believe it or not, we were trained in life coaching. And I know other people who are like, oh yeah, do you know? And that's something that, you know, I'm a master NLP. Perfect. How much do you pay for that? £7. Fantastic. Well done. Love that. That's why mind management is such a powerful thing, because it's something that you need to be invested in. It's something that you need to be taking away, getting that information and using it with clients. Because once you use it, once you go through the neurological, there's so much in the process that we do. And let's briefly touch on the impact theory coaching as well, because we've just done our first signups for the impact theory. Because I came out with a process of, I think we need a tagline, and it was impact. Let's make an impact, Graham, wasn't it? It was like, I went, oh, we've got an impact theory right there. Boom, impact theory coaching. So for anyone that's going to be seeing that on social media, they're going to be like, this is a product that we've created to help coaches, therapists, PT instructors, nutritionalists, HR managers, CEOs. Like, oh look, I need to understand my staff, my people, and I want to be a better coach. I've done my coaching. I've learned how to be a coach, but I'm not making an impact. I've learned how to be a coach, but I'm not making an impact. And do you know what? One of my good friends is an ILM coach, John Drysdale. And he said, because I'm like, there's so many business coaches out there. And I said, I wouldn't advertise a business coach. I'd only send them to 2 people, because I know they've run a business. Anyone can become a business coach. You buy the certificates, you buy the process. There's only 2 people that I know. I'm like, I'll send them to that person, which is John Drysdale and Vickers, actually. John Drysdale and Vickers. And John Drysdale absolutely nailed it on the head. And he says, look, anyone can be a business coach. Not everybody can coach. And I was like, that's the money right there. John, that is the money. I'm going to use that, because everyone can say they can do NLP. Everyone can say I'm training CBT. Everyone says I'm a life coach. I think I paid £10 for my life coach certificate. It was a tenner. It was a tenner.
Yeah,
I've got it up somewhere. I'm like, yeah, no, I've gone through the process, but yeah, I was like, not everyone can coach. And that's what you get with prior to mind management, is people who can coach. They've got the skills, they've done the training, they walk away, they practice it, And that's there's some people who can say that they're mind management coaches, but they're not priority mind management coaches. And that's something we're very proud of, in all fairness, isn't it, Graham? And that's the impact theory that we've moved into as well. We've created a whole new model of getting impact for any coach out there that's like, don't want to buy a franchise. It's that's not what I want to do, but I do want to make an impact. And it's a powerful 5-week program for everybody. We're loving it, right? We're loving it. And the impact that we are getting is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Fantastic.
I'm extremely excited about the future for Priority Mind Management. And before we wrap up, I'm going to say thank you to you, Graham Nicholls.
Well, I'm going to say thank you to you as well, Mr.
No, the reason I want you to take this, Graham, is you actually never had to listen to a word that I had to say. You didn't have to. You had all this experience. Of course,
screaming banshee on the phone while he was on a bike ride. Is that the way?
Did not have to take me on in any way whatsoever. And you could have done what a lot of other coaches, but I knew we had the same values. And that's why I had to make the pitch. Because when you put ideas in front of people, a lot of people say, that's not for me. Then they go and do it themselves anyway. Right? Absolutely. You never did, Graham. You never, ever did. I didn't think you would do, but I had to go out on a limb and go, I've got an idea. What do you think? You could have said, no, that's stupid. I would never do that. And then go away and go, got a new idea in the process. So I want to say a massive thank you, Graham, for mentoring me when I was quite new, listening to my rants and raves when I used to text you occasionally. We started with the radio show, actually. I actually pitched to the radio show before anything else.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I have to say thank you. I wouldn't be where I am today without the Priority Academy, Graham. Not a chance.
I appreciate that, and thank you. And I think of the many things that we share and many values we share, loyalty is up there for both of us. So
loyalty, absolutely. I am as loyal. I am. I'm such a loyal person to people until they bring that loyalty.
Until they're not.
I'm done.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would have done anything for you. I would have actually put my neck on the line for you. Like, no, absolutely not. And I do get bit with that one quite a lot, in all fairness. But it's like a moth to a flame. I'm like, no, I've got to stick to loyalty. I'll be loyal until they tell me they're not. Look, we're not life coaches. We are life changers. It's a powerful title. Graham, thank you very much for coming onto the podcast.
It's been a pleasure.
Is there any imparting words you would like to share?
Oh, my Lord. We could go on for another hour. This is the problem. We could go on forever. Come and join Priority Mind Management. That'll do.
Perfect.
If you're a business or want to be a coach, come see that man. Whichever way it is, that man and this man. That'll do.
Perfect. As I always finish, if it's in the mind, it can be managed. And what would happen? What would happen if for once you made yourself a priority, then your mind a priority? Think of the changes you would make. As always, big love from Cuddy, and we'll see you on the next podcast.